If y'all can hear me okay, let me know if there's any audio issues, because Lord knows I've gone live so many times and everybody said, like, there's so many audio issues. You've got an echo or there's no sound. There's either too much sound or there's no sound. Which one is it? You know, pick one, Knox. Just have one mic that works instead of three mics, because there's literally three mics in this environment. Okay, so passed the Cisco design exam this morning, the ENSLD 300-420, affectionately called the ENSLD exam. Thoughts? What do I think about it? Well, that was a pretty tough exam. I mean, I didn't really study for it. Let me be honest about that. I studied, I read through the textbook. I skimmed through it this weekend. And, I've been preparing for the CCIE for the past 6 months. So I kind of relied on that a lot. But I think if we actually jump into the exam topics and we start talking about bullet point by bullet point, how I prepare for these types of things, then that'll make a lot more sense about what's going on here. So, if you're in the chat, let me know if you can hear me. That's pretty important. Let me know if you can hear me. That way I can make sure that I'm talking into the correct place. And okay, it looks like everybody's saying sounds good. So I'm going to trust y'all that everything sounds good. So let me move some things around here. We'll go full screen like this. And move some stuff here. All right. So there's Twitter. So let's see here. I passed the ENSLD exam. Let me bring up the actual tweets here where I've got the score. You can see I passed with an 861. So let me start by saying I didn't pass with above 900. It was challenging in its own right. So I wasn't able to walk in there without preparing and crush the exam. It was pretty tough. There were several parts of the exam where I was like, might have failed this one. And that's okay, because, the truth is I was really taking this exam to get a gist of what it was like before I start recording for it. I wanted to know what are the types of things they're really trying to feel out here, because when I read the textbook, when I read the OCG or skimmed through the OCG, I didn't get a good feel for what it meant or what the exam was really looking for. So I've got the exam topics pulled up here. I'm not going to tell you what's on the exam, obviously, because that would be career suicide for me. But I will say that I felt like the exam was really fair. And I'll say beyond that, I felt like there were certain sections that really my expertise or my experience with them really bailed me out. Obviously, automation is one of those that really, really bailed me out. And going through Inato and DevNet, I felt like those were big parts to maybe the actual reason about why I succeeded today. Also, getting clobbered by multicast during my CCIE journey and going through that CCIE practice lab, I paid more attention to that, and I think that really helped me out too. Again, let me just say this, like the blueprints on these Cisco exams are very honest and fair. So are the exams themselves. Like, again, I can't tell you what was on the exam, but it's a good idea to go through each of these bullet points and know these bullet points and pay attention to the weights of these too, because I don't feel like they're lying to you about anything here in understanding the use cases. So this exam, the ENSLD exam, is not necessarily about how to do stuff. It's not what commands do you type to make this come to life and how do you troubleshoot it. It's more about do you understand what this technology really does? Do you know what its core components are that make it up? And when would you use this technology over another technology? And if you choose to use this technology, what are the different options for laying it out? What are the different ways that you could actually design a campus? And I think that was honestly a pretty big. This is new to me. Design was new to me, and all of these concepts and these ideas, just thinking about it from the higher level, and knowing when to use one over the other, and what are the actual use cases for it in the real world. This was all very new to me. I think that may be why I struggled with it. Other people who've gone through the CCDA or the CCDP, they might not, this won't be anything new to them, or even the CCIE, and the new CCIE has 3 hours of design associated with it. Oh yeah, the big announcement, duh, the SDWAN course is out. Yeah, that's right. On CBT Nuggets, the ENSDWI, the In Sandwich Exam course, is out. It's out right now. If you go to cbtnuggets.com, search for ENSDWI, or if you check out my Twitter, I think the very last tweet that I fired off was, and we can check right here. I've got my Twitter up. Duh. Let's see. Yeah, right here. Right now, already the SD-WAN course is on CBT Nuggets. It's out. It's out. SD-WAN is out. That's right. And we even have a skill dedicated to helping you build an SD-WAN lab. So as long as you're legally licensed and have acquired the images, you can build an SD-WAN lab in EVE-NG, following along with Keith Barker's skill on that. And then you can follow along with all the stuff that we do, which is really cool. Okay, back to ENSLD. So the mindset here is very different from the other exams, I think. Whereas, those exams are like, given this situation, what commands would you type to configure it? This is, given an even broader situation, what should you choose to do in the first place? Stuff like the client has gone with XYZ protocol. How would you design it? That's pretty cool stuff, I think. Even down to like understanding, tells you the very first bullet point, like creating structured addressing plans for IPv4 and IPv6. Like if you don't really think about those things frequently, like that's actually a big challenge. The campus design, I think that was really fun to do. WAN design, I thought that was really fun to like dig through and learn a lot about that. QoS and multicast, man, I mean, people hate those things, but my God, they're important. And then the automation, again, I felt like, there's a lot of these things here where on the exam itself, like if you got to know a pretty good balance of it, but these additional things like network services and automation, they can bail you out when you fall flat on your face on these other topics. So my advice for studying the ENSLD exam, I don't think the OCG is enough. It's good. You definitely need the OCG, but I don't think it's enough. I will say that my CCIE studies, actually reading, particularly in Domain 1, talking about these routing protocols, actually reading and learning about them at the CCIE level, there were huge design components that I didn't even realize were design components. I thought it was just understanding how the protocol works so that you could like type the commands correctly. But there were, I feel like my CCIE studies for the routing protocols really kind of bailed me out here on that one. So there's that. Going through the SD-WAN content, the SD access content for sure on CBT Nuggets, and the automation content, especially in auto, because there's some important stuff in auto, and even the network automation content that I just released on YouTube last week. And again, we're going to talk about network automation on Friday in my live stream. I feel like that was, like, I really do feel like this 10%, that really might have been the difference maker in the exam for me between pass and fail. So going through in auto and the stuff that I just covered on YouTube, I think is going to be a big deal there. But yeah, I'm going to be honest, like, I feel like I did very poorly on some topics. And I wish like there was like a Cisco proctor in here who could tell me what I could or couldn't say, because I'm always so paranoid about violating the NDA and talking about what was on my exam. I know I can't say this was on my exam or anything like that. I mean, but like I will say that the blueprint is fair. And the exam was fair. I found the exam challenging, not coming from an architect or designer role myself, and I really did feel like I had to rely on a lot of the CCIE studies that I've done recently, as well as studies for the other exams. That being said, there is a strong argument to make that if you are beginning your CCNP journey, the ENSLD exam might be a good place to begin your CCNP journey. Because I really do feel like it teaches you at a high level the point of the protocols. It teaches you why this protocol exists, or why this feature exists, or why this automation capability exists, and when you should use it. Then when you go into Encore, it becomes more about like combining design with configuration, and then you've got the specialist exams which drill deep into configuration. So I've heard some people say like the best path to get your CCNP, if that's your goal, is just get my CCNP and I don't care about which specialist exam I take. I think I'll agree with it that the ENSLD exam here is the best one to take. Not because it's the easiest. I think it was on par with, say, the Inato exam, which I took, in as far as difficulty goes. But because it kind of starts at a broader picture before you dive into these like specific technologies, and then Encore throws things at you like, wireless. But yeah, and it's this is also like the only place in the enterprise where you actually see ISIS, which I think is pretty cool. ISIS, man, is going through kind of a renaissance where a lot more people are talking about it, and they're like, wait a minute, that protocol has been overlooked for a while. It's pretty solid, and I'm one of those people. I agree. I think there's a reason why SD Access deploys it as part of its automation. As part of its LAN automation. It chooses to use ISIS. So let me fire up some questions here, see how we're doing. Thank you all for the a lot of people saying congratulations. Thank you. Let's see. Can you share the materials I have used in order to prepare? So I only read the OCG, and then I really just kind of fell back on crutches with CCIE. One second. Let me get the book for you. Here it is. CCIE, hang on, Routing Switching, version 5, volume 1. Volume 1. Keep that in mind, volume 1. Now, there are, it's not to say that BGP is not on this exam. It's on the blueprint right there, and that's contained in volume 2. But yeah, there was content in this book that I definitely needed that I didn't find anywhere else. So look, I'm going to put the book back now. One sec. So the cool thing is that, not to steal his thunder, but another CBT Nuggets trainer who is working on this exam with me also took this exam on Friday and destroyed it. But he's much more higher credentialed and experienced than me, so it makes sense, right? We took this exam so that we could get ready and prepare for recording the course, because we were kind of going into this going like, what are they really trying to do here? And now we have a clear path forward for how we're going to teach you these things. So you will have an additional resource for the ENSLD exam in CBT Nuggets. We are trying hard to cover all of the enterprise content for you. So at this point, you'll have Encore, in Narcy, in Inato, in Sandwich, and then in Salad. So that's pretty much all of it. And then you've got SD Access thrown in there too. So that's pretty cool. How old am I? I turned 35 last week. I turned 35 on October 22nd. Good question. And thank you all again for all the congrats. Yeah, I really did. I was not expecting to pass. I mean, I was hopeful that I passed. I wasn't going to take the exam knowing that I was going to fail. But on the same time, it was kind of like I didn't really prepare for this exam. I was really just trying to feel it out. And, I did have a lot of confidence with my CCIE studies at this point to where I could at least be conversational about all of these topics. So I decided on Friday, after Jeff, I said his name. Jeff took the exam. After Jeff took the exam, and he did not share any info with me, so let me just stress that right there. We respect the NDA. It is part of our career and our profession to be honest about this. And I mean, obviously, if he had it, my score would have probably been a lot higher. So let me just stress that. But Jeff took the exam and he did very well, and he encouraged me to take it too in order to get ready for my studies. So on Friday, I scheduled it. I thumbed through the OCG on the spots that I thought I was weakest on. Turns out those weren't the spots that I was weakest on. Those actually might have been the difference makers for me. So maybe actually thumbing through the OCG is what helped me. I don't know. But I thumbed through the OCG over the weekend and then took it to focus on the key sections that I was recording. But I ended up passing, and that was really cool. Were there any points that really stumped you when taking the exams? I mean, they're always going to throw questions at me that stump me. That's for sure. I mean, I can't point out any specific bullet points, I don't think. I don't know what advice I can give to you on that one without violating the NDA. The best advice that I could tell you is read the OCG, think a little bit deeper than the OCG, and pay close attention to these verbs that are on the blueprint. And even the adjectives that are on the blueprint. It says create, stable is an adjective, secure is an adjective, and scalable is an adjective. And then you have to think about how each of these applies to the protocols that they're telling you to create secure, stable, and scalable. So, and then, keep in mind that's 25% of the exam. So, that's not a small amount of an exam on a 5-domain exam, right? There's 5 domains here. When 1/4 of the exam belongs to one of the 5 domains, that's pretty big. So that's my advice to you there. Yeah. So it's always hard after taking an exam when you want to talk about an exam and say, like, you need to know this. But then it's like, well, then Cisco's going to get me and, take away all my certifications and not let me take any more certifications. And I don't want to do that either. So, yeah. But yeah, I would say, pay very close attention to the action verbs as well as the adjectives and how it applies to the topic at hand. Yeah. And know that, that you have these other areas here that you need to be strong in case you're weak in one area. So, why do I prefer reading from the physical OCGs over ebooks? And okay, I've always preferred physical books. I can't explain why. My Amazon Fire tablet is out for delivery tomorrow. so I am going to attempt to transition to ebooks. One of the reasons I'm transitioning to the ebooks is that's the only method that Nick Russo's CCIE service provider textbook comes in. So I am going to attempt to get used to ebooks, but there's just something to be said about having a physical book with the bigger pages and everything that I am going to. I'm gonna give the digital books a try, and that way I can maybe go on vacation or something and have all my books with me. Do I know anything about the design track for Juniper compared to this one? I don't. I am fascinated by it. Juniper offering all that training for free on Junos Genius and then offering the voucher. It's kind of like a why not situation, especially if you work with Juniper devices or if you have EVNG and you can fire up Juniper images left and right, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so yeah, that's what's going on there. I love these questions so far. Y'all have got great questions, and I really appreciate them. My voice is going a little out because as soon as I was done as soon as I was done playing, oh my gosh, my brain is fried. As soon as I was done taking the exam, I went straight into recording some content about automation and PyATS. So let the PyATS people know that is coming to YouTube soon. Yeah, so that's a great Rob Riker here, ladies and gentlemen, from Rob Riker's Tech Channel. His suggestion is to use the OCG and lab up the technologies based on the blueprint. I think that's a pretty good way to put it. I will say, don't get too buried down in memorizing the commands. It's more about how does it go? How does it actually work given a scenario, or given a blank slate? What is the best thing to choose? So pay attention to those things, and it kind of goes back to what is a stable situation? What does a secure design look like, and what is a scale? How does scaling actually work within these protocols? Yeah. I got to tell you, I think out of all the things that I studied here, the things that I enjoyed the most, the things that really I learned the most in, was WAN for Enterprise. I thought, so I guess throughout my career, I've been coddled, misled, what's the right word? Sheltered, naive, because of the advent of SD-WAN. When I began my technical career, I was working for an MSP that serviced small businesses. So we used Unify and Meraki primarily, which were, in 2015, 2016, that was oh my God, SD-WAN. This is the coolest thing ever. An IPsec tunnel is just a drop down. It's crazy. So then you didn't actually have to be good at designing WAN solutions for large enterprises. Most of these small businesses only have one WAN uplink. They're single homed. Absolutely no one had DMVPN. So actually going through the book, like this is the section that I paid the most attention in because of my professional career up till this point was primarily focused on WAN for enterprise. And I got a lot out of the actual use cases and design scenarios in WAN for enterprise. The advanced enterprise campus networks, I had seen some of this before. Some of the enterprises that we actually worked with were like collapsed core enterprises or layer 3 at the access layer enterprises. So nothing really caught me off guard here because of my professional, expertise up till this point. And then, of course, coming off the SD access training and the SD-WAN training, I felt pretty good about those things too. QoS and multicast always beat me up. So, these were things here that, I probably should have brushed up more on. And then automation is kind of awesome. And then you've got domain 1, which is all your routing protocol use cases. So check that out. Congrats on passing the exam. The question I have is, did you take the exam online? I took the exam online. Still terrified of coronavirus. Got a pregnant wife and an at-risk toddler. So we are very much locked down here. Kind of one of those things, whether you believe coronavirus is real or not, I'm in a situation where I'm like, why risk it? I don't want to be in a situation where I'm like, well, this could have been avoided. So we just don't risk it. And I took the exams online. I had no issues with the proctor or the getting started whole thing. I take that back. Friday, I did the test, the exam test, and this camera didn't work. And this mic didn't work. So whenever it did try to do the system test, it just sat there spinning on the camera and the mic. So I had to switch to this camera and this mic. and those all did work. So I just unplugged my camera, took it out of the room, and just kind of pushed this mic off to the side after I unplugged it. And then the system check worked fine. Getting started with the online exam, I logged in 30 minutes early. It took me about 15 to 20 minutes to get through the setup process. The proctor arrived about 5 minutes after that, 5 to 10 minutes after that, and I was up and running. I took the exam with no issues. Let's see, does it tell you anything? I don't think it tells you anything about like how many questions are on the exam or how much time you have, and I don't think I can say those things without violating the NDA. Oh, right here it says it's a 90-minute exam, but it doesn't tell you how many questions there were, so I can't talk about that. It was a 90-minute exam. I did not use the full 90 minutes. There were a couple questions that took up the majority of my time. And luckily, the online exam format now has a whiteboard button, so you can bring up a whiteboard if you need to. I did. So that's pretty cool that they had that, and it really did help me get through that particular question where I used the whiteboard. Just one tip about the exam environment on the whiteboard. There's a little whiteboard, and then there's an X in the top right that you think you would click on like you normally would to exit out of the program. That is not the exit. It doesn't work. If you click on that X, it does nothing. On the top left, there is an actual X icon with a circle around it. It kind of looks like the X-Men symbol. And that is how you close the whiteboard. So if you're like me and you didn't want to waste time trying to figure out how to close the whiteboard, you will spend most of the time in the exam dragging the whiteboard around so that you could read the next question. Until you get to like question number whatever towards the end of the exam, and then you finally figure out that you can close the whiteboard. So know that about the actual exam whiteboard. So yeah, I took it online and had no issues after I figured out that the camera and the mic, this mic, don't work with the actual hardware issues itself. But luckily, I'm set up to have like multiple cameras and multiple mics throughout this environment, so I could just swap them around. Did I get the results instantly, or did I have to log? So it does not tell me the results within the actual exam environment. I had to log back into Cisco OnView, and it took about 10 to 15 minutes after the exam ended for me to get those results. So I really did think I failed. I knew it was going to be close, but I was pretty sure I failed. And that was, I'm just sitting there clicking refresh over and over again, like, just tell me I failed, so that I can go live and talk about why I failed, like mentally preparing myself for this live stream to talk about the failure. And then it popped up and it said pass, and I'm like, huh? Oh, okay, cool. Like, and I pulled up the exam score, and it was like, okay, well, it was pretty close. It wasn't like I crushed it. So That makes sense. Let's see. And I'm going to do this. I don't know why this person's getting blocked, but I'm going to allow that question. There we go. Nick Russo, service provider, textbook, planning on taking the SP core. Planning on recording the SP core. Would love to take the SP core. Depends on the timing of the birth of my babies. So, the way the recording all works out at this point is like I'm going to finish up DevCore over the next couple weeks. That course, y'all. Oh my God, our DevCore course looks so good. And I'm so proud of the content that we're recording and that I've recorded so far. So it was the DevCore course is going to be great. Then we're recording ENSLD. I don't have a whole lot to record for ENSLD. That's going to be more Jeff and Keith heavy. I think I've got like 6 or 7 skills in ENSLD. I'm going to do additional skills on ISIS because I don't think we have any ISIS content in CBT Nuggets. So I'm actually going to bring people into ISIS there. And, you know, welcome to ISIS. So that will also help when going into SP Core. Can I please share some of the CCNP videos or books for free? Well, YouTube. There's always YouTube content that you can find free stuff. But you know, I don't. If anybody offers books for free, you can check that out or look for books on a description. But you know, I certainly am not going to violate any like copyright laws or trademark theft or non-disclosure agreements because that would be career suicide for me. And I like my career. Thank you for the congrats. Did I lab up a lot of stuff or was it more reading theory, review learning? It's absolutely a lot of reading theory, review learning, except for the stuff that I labbed for the CCIE. And then we get close to treading that NDA again. There were specific things that I labbed when going for the CCIE. What can I say? There were specific things that I labbed when going for the CCIE that were directly applicable here. And then things that were absolutely brand new to me, like completely brand new, as in never seen this before, I labbed it if I could. So for instance, I have never had access to, we don't have 5G in Baton Rouge yet. And I have never... I've only dealt with a Metro E one time, and I've never dealt with Sonnet or DWDM. So, like, those are things like you can't lab, but you got to know about them because they're here on the blueprint. But then there are other things that you can lab, and going through these things and labbing them were, like, critical, especially at the CCIE level. But my advice to those who are considering taking this exam, I'm not going to sit here in front of you and tell you you need to lab every single one of these things. In order to pass the exam. I think the OCG, the official cert guide, the official textbook, will give you a good idea of what types of stuff you need to know for this exam. And if you go through the OCG and you still feel rough about them, then you need to seek more textbooks or more lab time with it. Again, that CCIE textbook that I brought up here, like that really did fill in a lot of gaps for me that the ENSLD OCG did not. So that was going to be a big deal, but really like this is less about configuration, more about theory and choosing the right solution. Given, I mean, I keep stressing on pay attention to the adjectives here, and you know, what makes one protocol scalable? What makes one protocol secure? And, you know, when would you use this tunnel over that tunnel? And what is the best WAN solution given this scenario? You know, that's kind of what this blueprint is saying here. That's why you compare these WAN connectivities and design site-to-site VPNs. So, yeah, I mean, going through labbing these things helps you understand like why I would choose this solution over the others, because you know you type the commands and then it doesn't work and you're like, well, why didn't that work? Maybe I need to go back and learn more about what this protocol really does. And that's what the ENSLD exam is all about. Any update on SD-WAN Nuggets? You should check right now because it just went live. It went live at like 11 Central, noon Central. So yeah, hop over to CBT Nuggets, search for ENSDWI, and you will see the full course. You know, why don't I? What am I talking about? I have a computer. Let's go to cbtnuggets.com and let's search. Let me get signed in with my account. Let's search for ENSDWI. And what do you see? See that new tag right there? Isn't that cool? Give it a click. And there you go. Now you have the ENSDWI course. Let me show you one that I think you're just really going to love. Let me find it. It's somewhere in here. Describe. Right here. Build an SD-WAN practice lab. That's what y'all were really in it for, right? That way, all this stuff that we do, you can follow along. We do it with EVNG. You probably want to check out my YouTube playlist. The playlist on my channel right somewhere on this screen, or just find my channel and go to playlist. There is a playlist on how to get up and running with EVNG. VMware Workstation, ESXi with a template, ESXi with an ISO, or GCP, Google Cloud Platform, where you have a $300 credit for your first year. Then we walk through how to add images to it, how to design a beautiful topology, all the really cool stuff that EVNG does. And I've got more EVNG content coming, I promise. I'm going to try to work on it this week, definitely next week, so you can expect updates to this playlist coming regularly. There are some specific EVNG Pro features that I actually use when it came to application-aware routing right here. So in application-aware routing, the thing is you've got two uplinks. This is pretty cool, just by the way. You've got two uplinks, and it can monitor when one uplink does poorly, and it can route a specific app out a different uplink. So using EVNG Pro, I can actually introduce delay, jitter, loss, and bandwidth challenges on a specific uplink. So that way we can actually watch the application-aware routing take place. Beyond that, using EVNG Pro in containers, I use a tool to generate voice traffic, because we know voice traffic is most sensitive to latency and jitter. So that way it actually performs an application-aware update on voice traffic while, Netflix traffic continues going out the same thing. So that's one of the cool things about SD-WAN. I said this in my live stream on Friday. The point of SD-WAN, the big point of SD-WAN, it gets its power from all of its policies. And my encouragement to you is, if you go through our SD-WAN course, make it to policies. Don't give up on templates. Don't give up on the design considerations. Make it to policies, because that's where SD-WAN gets its return on investment. So let me bring up the questions one more time and see how we're doing. So yeah, check out that SD-WAN course. Let's see. I think you made a really good point. This would be a great place to begin. CCNP Enterprise. How can you get the SD-WAN images? Do you need a SmartNet account? Again, that's kind of a question where I could commit career suicide. The only answer that I can really tell you is you need to be licensed to have access to the SD-WAN images. That way you can go to the Cisco downloads, the official software downloads, and download the images. Is there going to be a CCIE Enterprise course in CBT Nuggets? So I like to think we've already got the majority of the blueprint covered. It's just kind of spread out across multiple courses. There is CCIE routing protocol content already on CBT Nuggets. It's a little old-ish, like 5 or 6 years old, but so is EIGRP and BGP and OSPF. Those are old. We all read Routing TCP/IP, which is like a 15-year-old book, because those things haven't changed. So you can kind of watch that content. We have an SD-WAN course now. We have an SD Access course now. We have tons of network automation content, and the NRC content actually goes beyond what the NRC exam calls for. We actually teach you how to deploy MPLS Layer 3 VPN and DMVPN. So I actually believe that if you go to CBT Nuggets right now, you would be able to put all those pieces together and prepare for the exam, the CCIE Enterprise, given the content that we already have, now that the SD-WAN course has been released. So if you want to talk to me about that more offline, feel free to tweet me. I am happy to walk you through the links and where you can go to find all that stuff. Someone from CBT Nuggets put it all together in one course playlist. I think that's a great suggestion, actually. And I'll work on that for you. I'll work on that for you tonight, and maybe I'll tweet it out tomorrow or the next day once I know it's rock solid. But thank you for that suggestion. That's a great idea. It is. It's like multiple to-do lists and a grocery list. So that's what I will work on for you. I'll tweet out links to what I believe could be all of the content that you need for CBT Nuggets. Beyond that, of course, I have my... someone is trying to send in inappropriate messages. So I'm going to hide that message. So what I'm going to say here is that also I've got the YouTube playlist on the CCIE practice lab. So actually after you feel good about the content that you've studied, that's when you can actually download the actual practice lab to follow along in EVNG and actually work through some real challenges. I tried to make it like a practice exam, and I recorded myself taking the practice lab. Check it out on my YouTube channel, somewhere on the screen. Go to my channel, go to playlists. You'll see EVNG, which you want to check out, and you'll see the CCIE practice lab. That way you could actually follow along with some real-world challenges that might mimic what the CCIE Enterprise lab would be like. And you can watch me failing it too. I stumble on some of those practice questions, and I created the exam. I stumble on it pretty hard at some points. So yeah, any other questions that y'all have about the ENSLD exam or not, I am here for you. Feel free to ask away. I'm going to take a sip of my Lebanese tea because I'm very thirsty and my voice is going out because of all the network automation and PyATS content I recorded this morning, which is really cool. Inspired by Trevor Sullivan. I peer-reviewed Trevor Sullivan's content this week for CBT Nuggets where he recorded about graph databases, specifically the Neo4j database. He recorded a skill on how to interact with the Neo4j database using Python, and part of that, he sets up a dev environment for doing it that I thought was pretty fascinating. And I'm like, how could we use that in network automation? And it's pretty obvious. So that was that. Will I be attending the CCIE Enterprise Infrastructure Exam? Yes, whenever it opens, but it's closed in the United States, and it will be closed for the foreseeable future. The birth of my babies is going to occur in early 2021, so I might not be taking this exam until very late 2021 or early 2022. But I fully plan on taking the Enterprise Infrastructure Exam. That's always been my goal. That's why I have a whole playlist dedicated to the CCIE journey and the CCIE practice lab. I quite frankly felt like I was ready to take it already, like I would have taken it and used it. I don't subscribe to INE, so can't tell you anything about them. Not really interested in it. Do I know a person who has already taken CCIE Enterprise Practice Exam and passed? My practice exam, I mean, hopefully at this point everybody's like taken it and, walked through and followed my examples and let me know what they thought about it. Outside of that, I haven't like graded anybody's exams because I already threw the answers out there on the internet, on my playlist. So maybe people can check that out and let me know their thoughts on it. I'm not perfect on it. I certainly screw up on some parts, so that's a big part of it. I don't know anybody who's taken the actual exam, not a single soul who has taken it, so can't really speak to that, whether they've passed or failed or not. But it is open in pretty much everywhere but India and the United States. So sucks for the United States. If only there had been a virtual option like the JNCIE. Why don't I travel to another country to take it? Because I have a pregnant wife and a toddler that needs me at home. And beyond that, if I travel to another country, there's a very good chance they will quarantine me for weeks because I'm coming from the United States, because we suck at coronavirus. So that is unfortunate that is the situation, but it's just kind of stuck. So there's that. I know that the JNCIE is online now. I don't think Cisco is considering that approach. I haven't heard. I don't have like access to them. I don't know if they actually are or not, but it would surprise me if they did. I think they are pretty dedicated to keeping it on-site only, and that's why they've opened up all the other sites around the world. And if they open it up to online, then I don't know. I really think like they're going to keep it on premises only. Yeah, and good luck to you. I hope that you do good on your CCIE journey. I hope that all of y'all enjoy that. So yeah, that wraps up my experience with the ENSLD exam. I really do like the idea of actually going for your ENSLD exam first before going for Encore. I think this really would give you a better feeling as to why these protocols and these technologies exist in the first place before you just dive right into configuring them. I'm not going to say it's an easier exam. I really thought it was on par with the challenge of the InAuto exam. It depends on your experience with designing networks and architecture. I relied heavily on my experience that I had been studying for the CCIE previously. I did not dedicate myself strictly to ENSLD studies until like Friday when I signed up for the exam. And it was really just like, okay, I've seen this and labbed this in CCIE already, so let's just kind of fill in some gaps. The biggest gaps for me came in WAN for the enterprise. I learned a lot about WAN for the enterprise and design solutions there. But that's not to say that there weren't things that I didn't learn in other places. There were, so that was pretty cool. One last check at the chat. What will I do after I go for my CCIE enterprise infrastructure? I'll probably live stream video games a whole lot as I take some time off. And then I may focus heavily on service provider or security. Probably service provider because I like the routing function, the routing side of it. That really scratches an itch for me. So, EXP MegZ, shout out to you since you asked for it. Thanks for joining the live stream. Y'all go check out the SD-WAN course out on CBT Nuggets now. If you need a link to it, go to Twitter. Check out my Twitter account. It's the last tweet that I tweeted. You know, that's a good point. When will you ever design stuff like this? Most stuff is already deployed. Actually, we got a couple good questions here. So when will you ever design stuff like this? Most stuff is already deployed. This is the job of a network architect. They are designers. Or like solutions leads or something like that. They are mostly designers, less CLI warriors. So that job exists, and there are always businesses that are changing or acquiring. And I think that is an interesting position to be in. Any interest in continuing with Juniper? Look, I mean, like I said this in a previous live stream, I've spent a lot more time working with production Juniper devices than Cisco devices. Something would have to actually force me into, if I were to jump into Juniper right now, it would have to be for a specific reason, because I'm so committed to getting my Cisco certifications and my CCIE at this point. I fear that shifting to Juniper could derail that momentum that I have, and I really kind of want to see the CCIE through to the end. That's not to say that I don't like Juniper. I love Juniper. I loved actually recording the JNCIA DevOps. And I could see myself one day getting a network engineer job where Juniper is heavily used, and I'll jump right back into that Juniper track. After recording for the SCORE exam, Rob, like, I think you're right. It's pulling me more towards that way. I got my CCNA security back in the day. God, that exam was brutal. But then, like, working with ICE, doing the SD Access course, that really, like, scratched an itch for me. Learning more about Flex VPN, watching Keith Barker's content that he recorded for SCORE about that was really cool. I recorded all the hacking stuff because of my app development background. And then I recorded... What else did I record? I recorded the Python stuff and the automation stuff, the telemetry stuff, but a lot of hacking stuff for the SCORE exam. So y'all will actually, in the SCORE, let me preview, the SCORE course that's coming up on CBT Nuggets, you'll actually learn how to do a SQL injection. You'll actually learn how to do a cross-site scripting attack, because there are like websites out there that actually help you learn those things. And we talk about other types of things, like we actually demo pulling out like unencrypted traffic and then rebuilding the actual. It's cool. You'll like it. And doing that stuff was like, wait a minute, this was pretty cool. Maybe I should look more into security. So that is on the back of my mind. So yeah, I mean, a network architect, you probably do want to go. I mean, so the path to a network architect is nobody just goes into a network architect position. They earn their way there. So, you probably would want to look at a CCIE or at least CCNP level, enterprise level, knowing the commands and knowing how this stuff actually works in the real world before you start designing solutions. Any specific training for ASA and firepower? Yep, we are talking about CCNP security like wild. SCORE is coming out soon. Keith is wrapping up his recording there before he moves into ENSLD. And then we are talking about doing like the VPN course and the ICE course, and all of that stuff. So yeah, CCNP security is not going anywhere, and we are very excited to be recording content for that. So, have I passed the EnSandwich exam yet? No, I have not. It is on my to-do list along with NRC, but I feel very comfortable that I could take it soon and be very competitive at it because our SD-WAN course that just came out on CBT Nuggets is very thorough. And I mean, very thorough. So I think anyone who watches our SD-WAN course, like, of course, it would always help to lab things and read the textbook. Like, you want to have as many resources as possible in order to be successful on an exam environment. There's never just one resource that will just be like, oh, that's all you need. That's not the case. That's not how studying and exams work. But I will say that our in sandwich exam course that we did, like, we put extra efforts into it to cover the bases. So I think you'll have fun like that. Isn't ASA like number 4 best firewall, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, Fortinet? That's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I have worked with all of the above. And, it depends on the enterprise that you're deploying it into and what the budget is. Like, you can get an ASA 5506 for under $1,000. And that's going to be great for small businesses that may have 3 locations and just need to build IPsec tunnels to each other. Whereas, you throw a Palo Alto in there. I don't know if they make cheap Palo Altos, but I love Palo Alto. Let me tell you, man, I had a great time working on Palo Alto appliances, and that's fun. And the cool thing about all of the above is they work in EVE-NG. So you can get your hands-on experience there with EVE-NG. I have passed Encore and RC and Inato. Cool. Would you say go for in sandwich or in salad next? I'd say go for in salad. Go for in salad next. That really will illuminate a lot of things for you about why you use these technologies that you just learned about. That's not to say don't go for in sandwich, because in sandwich is, pretty awesome technology. But in salad really does illuminate the whys and the whens, not the how. And that's pretty cool. All right, that's where I'm going to wrap up, y'all. I'm gonna call it a day here. My voice is going out. I may do some editing, or I may just live stream some Red Dead Redemption 2, because I like that game. And I haven't played it in a few days. And it looks really awesome in an RTX 3080. So, you know what? I might edit a video, upload it, set it for release, and then do Red Dead Redemption 2. I might not spend too much time editing today because I passed the certification exam. And gosh darn it, I earned it. Thanks for stopping by, y'all.